This conference will now be recorded.
Chaturmukha Samarambham Vakbhadacharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Paramparam Ragadirogan Satadanushaktan Asheshakaya Prasradan Asheshan Aulsukya Moha Aradidan Jakhana Yopurva Vaidyaya Namostu Tasmai. Namaskaram all. We had a break in between in our sessions, but anyway, I think we will complete this chapter Dravyadi Vidnyani in two sessions. I think, including today's, we will be completing it in 2 sessions. That is what I expect. So without wasting much time, we will go straight to the text. So the next karika what we have to read, or the shloka what we have to read, is Tatra Dravyam Shubha Shubham Kinjid Rasena Kurude Karma Pagena Chaparam Gunandarena Viryena Prabhavena Iva Kinjana. This is the text. I will read it once again. Tatra Dravyam Shubha Shubham Kinjid Rasena Kurude Karma Pagena Chaparam Gunandarena Viryena Prabhavena Iva Kinjana. So we were discussing about the various tattvas residing in Dravya, like Rasam, Gunam, Viryam, Vipagam. These are the 4 principles what we discussed so far in our session. Now, we taking each principle individually, we examined, we explored how that principle is relevant in the Dravya Guna Vijnana. What is the relevance of a particular principle? Our basic interest is how we can make use of a Dravya as a tool of Chikitsa, isn't it? Dravya is one among the Pada So how it can be used as an Upakarana, tool, and how does a Dravya influence the Sharira? Or what are the responsible factors in a Dravya to generate a particular type of response in the Sharira? Actually, we were looking or exploring this chapter to understand these aspects, isn't it? That is how we were engaged in discussing what is Rasa, what is Guna, what is Virya, all these things. But now we are trying to bring all these factors together. Bringing all these factors together and understand Dravya as a whole. Dravya and its Upayoga or usage as a whole. Because in spite of the best effort, I repeat, in spite of the best effort from a studious person, ultimately you cannot use any of these principles independently, isn't it? You have to use either not either, only possibility, you have to use Dravya as a whole. You cannot use Rasa separately, keeping all other principles aside. You cannot use virya independently without the support of any of the other principles. It is impossible. So now with these points in our mind, that means in spite of all the presence of all these factors, we are bound to use Dravya as a whole. With that as idea in our minds, let us see what is told here. Kinjid Dravyam Tatra, in this context, Kinjid Dravyam Shubhashubham Karma Rasena Kurute. Kinjid Dravyam Atra, in this context, Kinjid Dravyam Shubhashubham Karma Rasena Kurute. Aparam Dravyam Pagena Karma Kurute. Shubhashubham Karma. Kinjana Dravyam Gunandarena Viryena Prabhavena Eva Karma Shubhashubham Karma Kurute. This is what is tried to be explained here in this in these lines. Kinjid Dravyam Shubhashubham Karma Rasena Kurute. Aparam Dravyam Pagena Karma Kurute. Kinjana Dravyam Gunandarena Karma Kurute. Viryena Karma Kurute. Prabhavena Eva Karma Kurute. So one Dravya using its rasa can do karma. That can be Shubha karma or Ashubha karma. Another Dravya may be doing its karma using or by means of Vipaka. Still another Dravya may be doing its karma by means of maybe some other gunas or virya or prabhav. So this is what we find as a mentioning here. Karma is need not be always good, bad as well. Shubha Shubham. Sometimes shamanam, sometimes kopanam, sometimes sostavruttahitam karma. So we find one explanation how Dravya or different Dravyas are doing their karmas. If we look at one example, see Nagaram Deepanam Vrishyam Grahi Hridyam Vibandhanud. So one example. So we find many functions are being done by a Dravya. Meantime, we may find different Dravyas doing many of these karmas which are otherwise listed under Nagara. So we can have some sort of a discussion. What could be the mechanism behind these karmas? Interestingly, this shloka can be explained in a different way as well. What is that different way? It is Dravyam Kinjid Karma Rasena Kurute. Kinjid Karma Rasena Kurute. Kinjid Karma or Aparam Karma Pagena Kurute. Aparam Karma Pagena Kurute. Kinjana Karma Gunandarena Viryena Prabhavena Eva Kurute. So the same Dravya may be doing certain karma using its rasa, some other karma using its vipaga, Still another karmas using the other gunas in the dravya sometimes, or virya sometimes, or prabhava sometimes. These two ways this shloka can be explained. If we go back to that example of Nagaram, Deepanam, Rishyam, Grahi, Hridyam, Vibandhanud, Ruchyam, Lekhu, Swadupagam, Snigdhoshnam, Kabhavadajit. So, taking the second type of explanation, Nagaram may be doing Kabhashamanam and Deepanam in the Koshtam using its Kadurasa. Sometimes using its Lakhu Guna, that may be assisting in its Agni Deepana Swabhava. The Madhura Vipaga of the Shungi, that may be helping in its Vada Shamanatva. Similarly, Snigdha Guna also may be working for that Vada Shamanatva. Leghu Gunam may be causing the Kabha Shamanatva. Ushna Viryam may be helping in Kabhavada Shamanatvam as well as its Vibandha Haratva. And its Vrishya Karmada is because of the Prabhava. So in the same Dravya called Nagara, Kinjit Karma Rasena Kurite. Kinjit Karma Rasena Kurite. Kinjit Karma Pagena. Aparam Karma Gunandarena. Kinjana Karma Viryena Prabhavena Eva Va. So this is one explanation. This is an attempt to explain how the same Dravya is capable of doing different types of karma. Now let us see some other examples. Take the case of Marijam. Marijam, by its Kadurasa, it is Pitta Prakopi. So Marijam is Pitta Prakopi because of its Kadurasa. So Kinjit Dravyam Rasena Karma Kurute. Kinjit Dravyam Pagena. Kinjit Gunandarena. So that is another way of explaining it. We already saw it. We are seeing some examples. Palandu. Palandu is also Kadurasa. Palandu, like Marijam, it is also Kadurasa. But it is Kabhavardhaka because of its Snigdha Shida Guna. Because of its Snigdha Shida Guna, Palandu, even though it is Kadurasa, is becoming Kabhavardhaka. So here, Guna decides the karma. Saindhavam, which is Lavana Rasa, is Pitta Shamana because of its Madhura Vipaga. So a third Dravya is doing its karma by Vipaga. Brihat Panchamulam. Brihat Panchamulam, which is Kashaya Rasam, is Vada Harap because it is Ushna Virya. So now the Dravya is doing its karma by Virya. Shirisham is Vishaharam because of its Prabhava. So both ways we can find examples. In both ways we can find examples for this explanation. So I think there is some complexity in these narrations, no? Because we were trying to make everything organized. But when we come to this point, we find that, okay, it can be explained this way or that way. So ultimately there is a fear that we will be ending up in an order which is orderless by itself. That should not happen. So that is the actually that discussion of complexity itself is the most important part here. What I am trying to say is, even if all the individual principles in a dravya is important in its own capacity, ultimately at the point of administration, what is going to matter is the dravya as a whole. What is going to matter is the dravya as a whole. If you look at the Sushruta Samhita in this regard, chapter 40, we will find many debates introduced in this regard. There may be some acharyas who claim or who propose that, okay, rasa is supposed to be the most important principle. Then somebody, no, we cannot agree with it. Virya is the most important. And concluding that discussion, you will find in Sushruta Samhita that Prithaktva Darshinamesha Vadinam Vada Sangraha. These sort of debates, actually, it shows the way in which a whole is divided into or split into pieces, and the pieces are separately evaluated, and the sum of these pieces are supposed to be the whole. That is not true. That need not be correct in most of the situations. Samagryam, samagrata, completeness, wholeness, that is going to matter the most. That is the point what Acharya Sushruta is emphasizing at this point. That is a very, very important or very enlightening conclusion. Always the dravya should be considered as a whole, but at the same time, all these principles are going to be beneficial in explaining the way in which the dravya could have worked or could have delivered a particular karma. So that is very, very important. Now, when we say that, okay, certain dravyas are doing the karma by rasa, some others are doing karma by vipaka, third group may be by their virya. So, on what basis these ideas are proposed? That is a valid question. That is a valid question. Continuing in our text, we will find an attempt to address this question. Let us see what is told. We find yadi yadravye rasadinam balavattvena vartate. Yadi yadravye rasadinam balavattvena vartate abhibhuyedaram tattad karanatvam prapadyate. Abhibhuyedaram tattad karanatvam prapadyate. Let us see what is told. Dravye rasadinam yad yad balavattvena vartate tad tad idaran abhibhuya karanatvam prapadyate. Dravye rasadinam yad yad balavattvena vartate tad tad idaran abhibhuya karanatvam prapadyate. Let us look into the details. In a dravya, rasadinam, among the rasadi, rasa, guna, virya, vipaka, that is rasadi, yad yad balavattvena vartate. Balavatvam, strength, the state or the condition where there is bala, that is balavatvam. So among the dravya, among the rasadi principles, whichever is having bala, that principle, idaran abhibhuya, masking, by doing or by bringing some masking effect on others, idaran abhibhuya karanatvam prabadyade means become the karana of karma. So in a dravya, among the rasadi factors, whichever is strong, that will mask other principles and will deliver its karma. That is the reason why certain dravyas are doing karma by rasa, certain dravyas by virya, certain by gunandara, etc., etc. So this is an attempt to explain what could be the reason by this sort of a behavior of dravyas. Yadya dravye rasadinam balavatvena vartade abhibhuye edarams tattad karanatvam prabadyade. So whichever is stronger, that can outsmart the other members, outsmart the other principles, and deliver its preferred karma. So there is a question again. How does a principle gains strength? Balavan. How does it become balavatvam? Sorry, that balavan. So we should remember again, all dravyas are made out of panchabhutas. All dravyas are made out of panchabhutas. And all these rasa, guna, virya, etc. principles are the products of specific paga that is happening in a dravya at the time of its origin. All these principles are the result or outcome of specific paga. Vijadiya Tejas Samyoga. We have seen all these things in our earlier sessions. Paga that is happening during the evolution of a dravya. So when we look at this balavatvam in this background of panchabhautikata and the specific paga, we may assume that the bhautik configuration which supports a particular principle, or a principle in a dravya which has got the maximum support from its bhautik configuration, that principle gains strength. Among various principles in a dravya like rasa, guna, virya, suppose in a particular dravya the bhautik configuration is in such a way that it supports the virya, then that dravya will be doing or delivering its karma using the virya. In a different dravya, if the bhautik configuration is supporting the rasa mainly or predominantly, obviously that dravya will be doing its karma by its rasa. But one point is important. All these things are based on assumptions, anumana. We can't say, we cannot see which principle is gaining the maximum support from the Panchabhutas, because we do not see how it is happening inside. All these are based on Anumana. But there is one principle which is not Anumana, one principle which is Pratyaksha. What is that Pratyaksha? Of course, in this end there is Rasa, but the other end there is Karma. Karma is Pratyaksha. We can see that when a particular Dravya is used, this is happening. It is Pratyaksha. So when one karma is explained, or an attempt is made to explain the karma, we are in sort of a reverse analysis. From karma, we are looking at the possible events retrospectively, looking back, and we make assumptions. This could be the reason. This could be the potential factor behind this. And like that. When a particular Dravya is having all its principles like Rasa, Guna, Virya, which are homogeneous, which can be included in the same set, which can be of the same nature, then there is no much conflict. Then there is no much conflict, because Rasa and Virya will be aligning perfectly. Rasa and Gunas will be aligning perfectly. Rasa and Vipaga will be aligning perfectly. Or everything is in perfect alignment. So there is no conflict. There is no difficulty in explaining what could be the reason behind this particular karma. With Kshiram, karma is Brahmanam. There is no much conflict, because every factor, every principle in the Kshira is in perfect alignment with the karma, Brahmana karma. There is nothing strange about it. There is nothing alien. Everything is in perfect tune. So there we are not supposed to make very complex assumptions, or our assumptions are not supposed to be very complex in such context. But at the same time, in a particular Dravya, if this sort of a homogeneity of principles is not maintained, they deny to fall under the same set. They deny to work together. Then there is complexity. Then that may not be very easy. So what will be happening in such a context? That is what the third line in this particular text is trying to explain. Viruddha guna samyoge bhuyasalpam hi jiyate. Viruddha guna samyoge bhuyasalpam hi jiyate. When there is viruddha guna samyoga, bhuyasa alpam jiyate hi. Alpam bhuyasa jiyate hi. Alpam, which is small, which is minor, which is minimal, is get conquered by bhuyasa, something which is major, something which is larger, something which is say maybe more, something which is more, that conquers the alpa when there is viruddha guna samyoga. Conflicting factors are there in a single dravya. But still there is immediate question about it. There is an immediate question about that particular point. What is that immediate question? How the same dravya can accommodate viruddha gunas? Because you see, Viruddha gunas, we have seen that, okay, Gurumanda, Himasniktha, Slakshna Sandra, Mrudusthiraha, Gunaha, Sasukshma, Vishadaha, Vimsadi, Saviparyayaha. So there is Guru, there is Lakhu, there is Sniktha, there is Ruksha, there is Ushna, there is Shita. So these are Viparita gunas. So how can Viparita gunas coexist in a particular dravya? How can the same dravya be Guru and Lakhu? How can a same dravya be Ushna and Shita? So that is a puzzling point. But interestingly, we should understand that this is not the Viparita Gunatvam what the author has intended here. It is not this sort of Viruddha Gunatvam. Then what else? It is about two categories of gunas, like Agneya Guna and Saumya. Agneya and Saumya. Again, the question, how Agneya and Saumya can be there in the same dravya? It can happen. How is it? We will see. Suppose there is one dravya. Fundamentally, we should understand that all the principles, all the gunas are ultimately classified into two, Agneya and Saumya. See, for example, Guru is coming under the Saumya category. Lakhu is coming under the Agneya category. Ushna is coming under the Agneya category. Shida is coming under the Saumya category. That way, everything can be divided. Madhura is in the Saumya category, whereas Kadu is in the Agneya category. Shida Viryam is in the Saumya category. Ushna Viryam is in the Agneya category. And so on. So if one dravya is Madhura Rasa, but Ushna Virya. So Madhura Rasa and Ushna Virya, which are hailing from two different categories. One is Saumya, one is Agneya. They coexist in a dravya. Then that situation is what we call as Viruddha Guna Samyoga in a dravya in this particular context. Viruddha Guna Samyoga. So in such Viruddha Guna Samyoge, Bhuyasa Alpam Hi Jiyate. Bhuyasa Alpam Hi Jiyate. The weaker one will be conquered by the stronger one. Alpam Bhuyasa Jiyate Hi. I hope the idea is clear. Taking the example of maybe Godhuma, which we will be seeing in detail later. In Godhuma, there is no conflicting factors coexisting. There is no Viruddha Guna Samyoga. Everything is coming under the same category. So there is no conflicting gunas coexisting. But when we consider Yavam, in Yavam, majority of the characteristics are coming under the Saumya Guna, under the league of Soma. But Rukshata, that particular principle is from the other league, Agneya. Is from a different league. It is Agneya. So in Yava, there is Viruddha Guna Samyoga, and that Agneya Ruksha Guna is so strong to outsmart the remaining characteristics of Yava, which are from the other group, the Saumya group. So conquering all those Saumya characteristics, Yava works using its Rukshaguna. Using its Rukshaguna. Bhuyasa alpam hi jiyate. I think that example gives you a better idea about the concept. Right. Now, we may be able to show many examples of this sort. Again, there is a question, there is a possibility of another question. Suppose there is no such specific Shaktyutkarsham. There is no specific Shaktyutkarsham that can be highlighted. Then what is the picture? What will happen? That is also a valid question, and we find the answer in the text. In the next 2 lines, the author tries to find a solution for that question. What is the solution given? Rasam vipaga tau viryam prabhavastan vyapohati balasamye. Balasamye. Nobody is superior, nobody is inferior. Balasamye rasadinam iti naisargigam balam. Naisargigam, that natural. Balam, strength. Rasam vipaga tau viryam prabhavastan vyapohati or prabhavastanya balasamye rasadinam iti naisargigam balam. Vipakaha rasam apohati or vyapohati. Viryam tau. Tau, divajanam. Tau means here the rasa and vipaka. Prabhavaha tan apohati. Tan, bahujana. That means rasam, vipagam and vidya. Idi balasamye rasadinam naisargigam balam or balasamye rasadinam naisargigam balam iti bhavati. Rasam vipagastau vidyam prabhavastanya balasamye rasadinam iti naisargigam balam. Let us see what is communicated in these 2 lines in detail. Rasa conquers or outsmarts or wins over vipaka. That means rasa surrenders to vipaka, or vipaka wins over rasa. Viryam conquers rasa and vipaka. Prabhava conquers all the other 3. That means rasam, viryam and vipaka. So this is the general or natural tendency among these principles when there is no specific superiority identified. When there is no specific superiority strength-wise identified. Again, when there is a dravya which has got all the principles coming under the same category, this is not much important, because all the rasadi factors will be complementing each other, one another. Rasadi factors will be supporting one another. So it is not a big issue. They are complementary. And there is no competition between them. But in a dravya where there is a Vaijatyam, some sort of a lack of homogeneity or a heterogeneity exists among its principles, and all are equally strength, balasamye. What is the rule of the game? That is what is explained here. That is what is explained here. So one interesting point that we should not miss here is that guna by name is not included in this list. We find rasa, vipaka, virya and prabhava. Gunam by name is not included here as a candidate in the competition. There may be some specific reason which we may be able to explain later in our continuation. Again, we should always keep in our minds that all these principles are divided on the basis of Agni Shomau Mahabalo Vyakta Vyaktam Jagadiva Nadikramadi Jadujit. That twofold division, Agneya, Saumya. All these principles coming under these two categories. So, if we look at the way in which we understand a dravya, very primarily, one peculiarity that is identifiable very easily is that rasa is always considered first, and the rest of the things are looked for whether they are in tune with rasa or not. I'm repeating, primarily rasa will be taken into account and the remaining things will be assessed on the basis whether they come in tune with rasa or not. This is a common method, it's a common trend. So in a dravya, when we assess it on the background of its karma and in an attempt to explain which factor is responsible for this karma, obviously the first consideration will be for rasa. Whether we can explain the karma on the basis of rasa or not. That is the first consideration. When all other factors are supporting the rasa, sajadiya, all other factors are supporting the rasa, it is comfortable. We say that okay, rasam is doing the karma and all others are supporting. Chapter is closed. Perfect explanation. But suppose a dravya where there is a conflicting principle, say for example, a conflicting vipaka. So rasa is having the support from all the gunas, virya, but vipaka is on the other side. Vipaka is on the other side. Some sort of a rebel. Interestingly, that vipaka will win over the rasa and its members of the league, and the vipaka will do the karma. Rasam vipaka. Vipaka conquers the rasa and delivers or shows its capacity. Then this is a natural trend. That is the explanation is trying to say. Even if there is no difference in the strength of rasa and vipaka, if the vipaka is ready for a confrontation with rasa, obviously vipaka will win over rasa. Similarly, Virya, if the Virya is a rebel, that Virya will win over Vipaka and Rasa. Similarly, a Prabhava will win over Virya, Vipaka and Rasa. I hope the idea is clear when we discuss it with the examples. Interestingly, as I mentioned earlier, all these things are retrospective explanations. Retrospective explanations. Again, this is actually a very subtle area, and we will not find very detailed explanations or discussions about these things in Ashtanga Hridaya. Hardly we find any discussion. But this is to be discussed. Then only we will find that where we fail in explaining things, or where we need better explanations for clarity, bringing clarity to the ideas. If we go to Ashtanga Sangraham, but same chapter, we will find certain explanations which Vakbhada skips in Ashtanga Hridaya. Ashtanga Sangraham tells us, Dravyadi Vidnyani, Tatra Yad Madhuram Rasapagayoho Shidaviryam cha. That means there is no conflict. Madhuram Rasapagayoho Shidaviryam cha Dravyam. Similarly, Yad Tayoramlam Ushnaviryam cha. That means in Madhura and Rasa and Vipaga Amlam and Ushnaviryam. Similarly, another Dravya which is in Rasa and Vipaga Kadu and Ushnaviryam. In such Dravyas, there is no confliction. There is no conflicting ideas. Tesham Resebhyaha Prayaha Gunan Doshakopashamanatvam cha Vidyad. In such Dravyas, by knowing the Rasa, you can assume the rest of the things. What will be its Vidya, what will be its Vipaga, what are the remaining gunas possible? All these things can be assumed. There is no issue at all. But this need not be the case in all Dravyas. This need not be the case with all Dravyas. Rasadi Sangarena tu Anyathatvam. This picture collapses when there is Rasadi Sangaram. Sangaram, mixing up Vaijatya, Vijatiyata. And he is giving examples. What are the major examples? Yatha Mathuhu Madhuram Sleshmanam Shamayadi Kadu Vipakataya. Mathuhu Madhuram Sleshmanam Shamayadi Kadu Vipakataya. So Vipagam wins over the Rasa. Anupautaka Pishidam. Pishidam Mamsam. Anupa Mamsam or Udaga Mamsam. Madhuram Api. It is Madhura in Rasa. Pittam Karodi. Increases Pitta. Why? Ushna Viryatvad. Ushna Viryatvad. Then Tatha Tailam Kadu Vipakataya. Tailam is Madhuram, but Kadu Vipagam. And because of that Kadu Vipakata, Tailam is becoming Baddha Vinmutram. And you can find many examples of that sort, which is not attempted to be explained in Ashtanga Hridaya. So, when there is a Vijadiyata among Rasadi principles, the Dravya is becoming a very strange one, a unique one, I should say. It's unique one. But there is a question. Again, I think the questions are the key points to move forward. Suppose a Dravya, say for example, Yavam. We found that, okay, it is Madhura, it is Shita, it is Madhura Vipaka, but it is Ruksha. And Ruksha predominates and Ruksha delivers its karma. It is becoming Vada Prakopi. But even in such a Dravya, where that rebel is running the show, does it mean that the Madhurya of Yava is useless? Or the Madhura Vipaga of Yava is useless? It is doing no karma at all? The Sida Vidya of Yava is useless, doing no karma at all? Does it mean so? That is also an important question. These factors, these dormant, otherwise dormant principles need not be inert. Need not be inert. But they will be doing some karmas. The point is, such factors should not be considered as the master criterion in defining the dosha prakopa shilata or the dosha shamana shilata of that particular dravya. That's all. They should not be taken as the standard to explain the dosha prakopa shilata or dosha prashamana shilata of that particular dravya. That's all. Because even if they are viruddha, anyonya viruddha, in doing their karmas, they need not conflict. There may be a issue of dominance. That's all. There will be an issue of dominance, but that doesn't mean that all the other factors will be completely negated by this dominant character. Sangraha tries to explain this with an example. Viruddha apichanyonyam rasadya karya sadhane na avasyam survikhadaya gunadoshaha midho yatha. Gunadosho midho yatha. Like trigunas in the case of prapancha, like tridoshas in the case of sharira, even if these rasadi factors may be viruddha, they do not cancel off completely in karya sadhanata. In karya sadhanata. I hope that idea is a little bit clear. I know that there are many things to be discussed, but I think this is what we can explain the maximum in a online platform. If it is a, say, maybe an offline platform where we are sitting face to face, I think we could have explained all these things with the diagrams and many other things, but the core ideas are communicated. I expect, or I hope. Please roll it over again and again, and I hope it will be clearer. We have got only one more minute. I think we will not go to the remaining part today. I thought we will be finishing in one more session. Anyway, I think one or two more sessions will be sufficient to wind up Dravyadi Vidnyani. Shall we stop, Dr. Nilesh?
Yes, sir, we can end our session today
Yeah.
and continue in our next session.
Yes, please. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.